Hey, everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee,
Hey everybody, Sal Baglio.
And Bruce Brodeen.
and you are watching Skips and Scratches.
I bought a brand new record, 12 inches. I bought a brand new record, 12 inches. It's a big old record, it's 12 inches.
But it's interesting with the used record store experience. Part of it was that find, especially you being a big Yachts fan, and these UK bands that wouldn't get distribution here picked up and weren't released. What was unique about the best of the stores was that happenstance, serendipitous kind of encounter with finding an import record.
Mm-hmm.
That would make it into the racks.
Yep.
And that was part of that hope when you would walk in, when I walking down the stairs to the first, there was two nugget stores, but the first nugget store, you would walk down in, and it was always my hope that, something on that import list, because that was its own section on my written out want list.
Yeah.
Imports, that I had on there. And it would happen. And they would always they were $5.99 if there was an import that they would have, which was still, reasonable, because that was the cost of a new record, more or less, in the late 70s. But I pulled out two when I knew we were doing this, Steve, that finds at Nuggets that were imports. No, not Nuggets. The other one was at Beggar's Banquet, Sal. I found the Heartbreakers live at Max's Kansas City. Boy, was I over the top with finding that one. That was $5.99. And then I found, being a Sex Pistols fan, the Professionals.
Yes.
With I Didn't See It Coming for $3.99.
And it's a great record too.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely wonderful record. And part of the outro of the experience when you were going home, was the warm, loving, hugging embrace of the records that you bought. You'd be riding on the T, going back home, and you'd have the stack of records. You walk in with a stack this big to sell, and you'd walk back with one about this big. Either to your car or to the subway, and you just spent the entire trip home just. God, I can't wait.
Oh yeah, totally.
And studying everything, and it just, by the time you made it home an hour later, you were just prime. Talk about foreplay. I mean, unbelievable. It's just, what was the first one you're going to go on? And then that was a blocked out period of time, like no one disturbed me. I'm listening to records for the next 2 hours. Dinner, screw that.
I would definitely have, like, if I walked out with a stack of, at Aaron's and Renee's, you can go and you can get new promos for 29 cents, 99 cents.
Yeah.
So I would get paid. Yeah, I'd get paid, and I'd head up to Melrose, and I'd buy usually a box lot of records, 30 count box lot. So on the way home, since someone else was always driving, I would put them in order of what I wanted to hear the most to what I wanted to hear the least. And to me, I did the same thing. It's such a nerdy music geek thing.
Totally did the same thing. I had them all in order by the time I got home.
Yep.
And boy, there was a long schlep, walking, at least in the city, carrying, huge stacks of records. Was heavy. They didn't have backpacks then or anything to carry them in.
Yeah. Again, being on the West Coast, you hear all these great stories of people saying, "Oh, I went to Cheapos when I was a kid," or "I went to," Bruce and I could say Aaron's and Renee's. Those were legendary record stores. I mean, the only reason that Aaron's does not exist anymore is because of Amoeba.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Aaron's would have survived. Now, I'm not going to, I'm sorry to all the people at Aaron's, because I love Amoeba. It's my favorite record store of all time, Amoeba Hollywood. And the great thing is every store had its own personality. And I'm talking about every chain store as well. So you could go into 3 or 4 different Tower Records, and each of them had their own personality.
Very true. I haven't thought about that in years.
Yeah. And
hey, I just got a memory connected to that. Did you, either Sal or Steve, ever have this fantasy of record store buying? And I don't know what the delusion is, but I don't know if this is me. I've never talked to anybody about this, because it reveals, I guess, a veneer of vanity that's kind of not very attractive. But it's something I think a Music Geek relates to. So when you would get a particularly great buy, I was, I bought the right kind of Miles Davis record, the right kind of that whatever was hot in jazz, or or funk record, and really cool obscure punk band that very only somebody reading Bomp or Trouser Press would have known about. And you go up to the counter and lay your stack on there, and you always, I keep in mind, I'm maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, but I always wanted the clerk to go, people didn't say dude back then, but whatever the equivalent of 1979 was, dude, nice choice. Wow. I mean, you're wow. You're real. I mean, you're cool. Whatever. Say just something to acknowledge my very exquisite high level music tastes, and it never happened ever.
No, see, to me,
I think it was my confirmation that I really wasn't quite, as cool as I thought I was.
See, I had the same thing. So, like, let's say I'd go into Aaron's and I'd buy a stack of records, and I go, oh, well, here, I'll put the Savage Republic album on top of the stack, right?
Absolutely.
right?
I would lead with the best one. That's how bad I was,
Yeah. But then me being the music nerd, 3 records in was Captain and Tennille.
Actually, me too. I collected one-hit wonders. So I bought all the one-hit wonders from the early mid '70s all the time. The vinyl of that.
I have a 6 CD Captain and Tennille box set.
Well, that's
okay. Just for the record, I would have cared less what they thought of me at the.
Yeah, good for you.
I mean,
I think you were definitely in a more righteous place than I was. I mean, I was that insecurity, I mean, it was that teenage insecurity, it was just like you just were uncool at high school or junior high. I was, pretty much alone with the kind of music taste that I had, in my schools. So you were just looking for some sort of confirmation of some sorts, but it never came. I'm glad you were much more self-confident than I was.
You see, that's
what records I wanted. But Captain and Tennille, so a band that I've seen many, many times, and we were also fortunate to open for them later in the 80s. But I saw Captain and Tennille when they were in the Beach Boys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You only read about that.
Yeah, that was the 70s, early 70s, I believe.
Yeah.
The music hall. Yeah, it's a little hazy.
I
remember they were part of the band. Yeah.
It's really funny, because I was thinking the same thing you were, Bruce, when Sal said, he didn't care. Thing is if there's one thing
I
in
never
this
shared
world,
that story before to anybody. Actually, it never occurred. It just occurred to me, in walking down these memories that I thought that way. I never. Yeah.
You see, I wish I was more whatever, like Sal.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing is though, is I never doubted my taste in music. Now,
neither did I. Yeah.
I don't have guilty pleasures. People may go, you have Captain Tennille, or you have a Darla Hood CD. Yes, Darla Hood from the Little Rascals. I have a collection of like her recordings from the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Well, you'd relate to this. I mean, we all have. That's another great show. But Skeletons, I want to hear what Sal's would be, and actually I can defend this. I own every single Christopher Cross record.
So do I. No,
I-
on CD. Yeah.
All of them. And I listen to him regularly. He played here a couple years ago in a little place here, and it was just a great experience to. I went up the day of the show, and I knew they would have one ticket, a seat by itself, and I got like front row seats, and I couldn't have been happier. I went alone because I couldn't get anybody to go. So anyway, what's your skeleton? Even if you cared, you probably don't care.
I don't think I have any. I mean, I love everything from.
Yeah.
If we went A to Z, it would be ABBA to ZZ Top, but and everything in between.
My phrase for that is I call myself a music pantheist. I worship at the altar of all. It's just I can find appreciation for almost any kind of music genre. What I own is a reflection of that. I have my favorites, of course.
Yep.
But there's redemptive qualities that I connect to in terms of the artistry and of almost all music.
That's it for this episode of Skips and Scratches. My name is Steve Schnee.
All right, everybody, keep a nickel on that tone arm. This is Sal B saying, see you next week.
And I'm Bruce Brodeen, and as always, pop on.
Remember to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Remember to click the bell and get notifications. And we'll see you next time on Skips and Scratches.